Welcome back to the final June edition of New York Sports Rapid Rundown. It's also the one-year anniversary of the show. I've had so much fun working on this show and connecting with some of the best voices in New York sports media over the past year. And another new great voice joins us to talk about NYC sports this week. He is a reporter covering the Mets and Yankees for Sports Illustrated. My guy, Pat Ragazzo. Pat, what's going on, man?
Not much, Dex. Thanks so much for having me in. It's great to catch up with you here, and I'm ready to get into it.
No, I'm glad to have you here. This has been quite the week here in NYC sports, okay? Because fans know this. The New York Yankees, their June swoon continues, but they had a little bounce back recently. The Mets, they added to their month of misery for the Yankees. And speaking of the Mets have been playing pretty good baseball, right? They do not look anything like the team that we saw in May. But first, when we get into stuff today, we got to talk about first, Pat. We got to talk about the New York Knickerbockers. Folks, the Knicks offseason, it is off to a sizzling start with a trade and the draft. So let's start with the trade this week that was stunning for the NBA world. The Knicks, they make a deal with the Nets for the first time since 1983. I don't even think you were born. You were not born there. No. I'm not going to give away your age. You were not born there. So the Bockers, they acquired Mikal Bridges for 5 first-round picks, 4 of them which were their own, pick swap, future second-rounder, and Bojan Bogdanovic. Here's the talk. A lot of people say maybe they gave up too much, maybe they didn't. Do you like this move for the Knicks getting Mikal Bridges?
I love it for the Knicks. Just add another Nova guy to the bunch of Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, and Josh Hart. Now they have Bridges, and this is a defensive-minded team already, and I think that it's a great move for the Knicks and only makes them stronger. Yeah,
only makes them stronger. Do you think they gave up too much in this? Because that's some of the talk that we've heard. Hey, the Knicks gave up a lot. It's a lot of picks for a guy like Bridges. Never made an all-star team before. How do you feel about that? Did they give up too much, or is this a move they had to make?
They certainly gave up a lot of picks, but at the same time, it's a win-now move. And I think it'll benefit the Knicks in the short term and potentially the long term as well. Yes, maybe some of those picks will pan out for the Nets in the future, but at the same time, I think this will help the Knicks right now and for several years to come.
All right, so you like this long-term play for the Knicks. I'm with you on this, too. I think this helps them. I think this guy's a perfect fit, and sometimes you're going to pay a little bit of a premium. The Nets probably had a little tax on this for the Knicks and what they wanted to do. Now, also this week, the Knicks brought back OG Anunoby, who they traded for earlier last season, right? Emmanuel Quickley, R.J. Barrett. They bring him back. 5 years, $212 million. That's a lot of money there, Pat. Yep. And there's been talk with free agency starting on Sunday, June 30th, that it's going to be hard because of now this deal and acquiring Mikal Bridges, bringing back OG Anunoby. Going to be hard to bring back center Isaiah Hartenstein unless the Knicks clear up some more money to stay below the first apron. What did you think of the move for the Knicks bringing back OG, one? And then in your eyes, is it imperative that they find a way somehow to bring back Isaiah Hartenstein and have him in the Knicks uniform next season?
Well, first off, I believe it was a must to bring back OG, and the Knicks got it done. Yes, it's a lot of money, $212.5 million, but at the same time, they needed him back. And you saw his impact he made when they acquired him at the trade deadline. So now they shift their focus to Isaiah Hartenstein, who I believe is also a must to bring back. But at the same time, like you said, it might be tricky because of the money. They need to clear some space maybe. But he's very reliable, and he's more reliable than Mitch Robinson, who has dealt with injuries, as good of a player as he is. So I think the Knicks are going to have to get a little creative here, and they need to find a way to bring Hartenstein back. It's a weaker center market around the NBA, so someone might overpay for him, and the Knicks probably wouldn't be able to reach that number if someone were to offer him, let's say, something in the $80 million range, maybe even more because of his talents. But the Knicks are, well, there's a will, there's a way, and the Knicks are going to have to figure it out to bring this guy back because they need a complete team here. They need a true center who they can rely on this year.
Yeah, and Hartenstein is so valuable to this team this year, and I think a lot of Knicks fans feel that way. You talk to them, and also just pundits around the Knicks have felt the same way. I don't know if it's going to get done. It's going to be really tricky, but we'll see if they get it done. I got to ask you this. You're happy with the start to the Knicks offseason thus far with these moves we talked about?
I think so. I think it's a really good start for the Knicks. They made 2 big moves in Bridges. They brought back OG, obviously, as we just said. And the job's not done. The job's not done, but they are close. They are close to having a complete team as we are in the early part of NBA free agency and the offseason. I think that the Knicks have done a very good job, and they have at least one more move to make.
I happen to agree. It's going to be interesting to see what that move is as they move forward into this offseason. But for now, if you're a Knicks fan, you're pretty excited. Mikal Bridges in the fold. OG Anunoby is back. We'll see what happens with Isaiah Hartenstein. Okay, we got to talk some Yankee baseball. The vibes, recent vibes, they've not been great for the Yankees. You know this. You covered the team.
Yep.
This week earlier, we saw that they were swept by the crosstown rival, the New York Mets. They've struggled for most of this month of June. What do you think when you look at the recent play of the club? Are you concerned about their play, and what do you think is wrong with the Bronx Bombers right now?
I think the Yankees, they've come back down to earth a little bit. Yes, they're super talented, but they've dealt with injuries, whether it's losing Giancarlo Stanton, who was their big cleanup hitter, 18 home runs this year, looked totally rejuvenated. And Garrett Cole's coming back from a major elbow injury. He is not himself yet. He has a 9 ERA across his first 2 starts, 8 innings only, allowed 4 home runs and 6 runs total to the Mets the other night. Slowly but surely, the Yankees will get healthier. We have the trade deadline coming up in around a month, July 30th. The Yankees will be okay, but it has felt like the sky has been falling recently between the injuries, the underperformance, the slumping from Juan Soto, Anthony Volpe, who both had big nights last night in Toronto. Yankees finally exploded for 16 runs. Aaron Judge. He's played at an MVP level. But now they're starting to get a little bit of production as of last night. Most recently, promising sign that Gleyber Torres had a big night. Alex Verdugo, that is what the Yankees need, and that's how they're going to be okay. And then the bullpen as well has dealt with injuries. There's not too many guys Aaron Boone can trust there, besides Clay Holmes really right now, and they're going to have to make some trades. And they do have some guys coming back. I asked Aaron Boone the other day that Scott Efros could be an option potentially in the coming weeks. Boone did say he needs to rack up some innings in AAA now with Scranton on his rehab assignment, but in a couple weeks he should be an option. When healthy, he's been productive in his career. It's just been a while because of the surgeries. So, yeah, I think the Yankees will be okay, but this is just the classic ebbs and flows and roller coaster of a baseball season. It's not all going to be sunshine and roses.
Right. Sometimes the fans want it. There's a lot that can happen in 162 games, and we saw this, and this kind of brings me to my next point. We saw this with Aaron Judge, because after a slow start to the 2024 season, Judge right now, he's on a historic tear.
Yeah.
He really is. When you look at this, back in 2022, when he won that AL MVP, Judge had 30 homers through 80 games. Through 80 games this season, also had 30 home runs. He's leading the American League in several major offensive categories. When you look at him right now, is he the front runner for AL MVP? Do you look at him that way?
I believe he is easily the front runner for AL MVP. We've been talking about Judge, Soto, Gunnar Henderson. You could even talk about maybe Bobby Witt Jr. in there with Kansas City. But at the same time, Aaron Judge is on pace to either tie his home run record in MVP level season in 2022 or break that home run record. So I believe, yes, Judge is the absolute favorite right now, that he's already at 30 home runs, around 79 RBIs for the season. Judge is the MVP right now. I mean, we have a long way to go. He's got to stay healthy and keep these numbers up, but Judge looks like a serious favorite right now.
Which is amazing, considering as start, and Yankee fans were very worried about his start. He's been fine.
Yeah.
I do agree with the point you made earlier. I think the Yankees will be fine. It's a season. It's a roller coaster, right? Up and down through the season. You see how teams can learn from things through the season. And we'll see. I think it'll be okay for the New York Yankees. We'll see how they do as we move into the month of July. And we'll also see, as Pat said, what they can do at the trade deadline. All right. From the Yankees, we go to the Mets, because unlike the Yankees, Pat, they're having themselves quite the turnaround this month in June. No June swoon in Flushing, as the Mets, they swept the Yankees this week. They get back to 500. They get over 500 on Friday night. What are you liking about this Mets team right now, and are they a legit contender to make the playoffs this season in your eyes?
The Mets, I believe, ever since Grimace, they're 12-2. June 12th, he threw out the first pitch at Citi Field before the Marlins game. And all has been great for the Mets, but really they're now 18-6 in their last 24 games. Nobody's played better baseball around the league. Nobody's had a more productive offense than the Mets. I think that, yes, things maybe will even out a little bit, but at the same time, Francisco Alvarez being back has made a major impact on both sides of the diamond. J.D. Martinez is red hot. Brandon Nimmo, Pete Alonso picked it up. Francisco Lindor out of the leadoff spot. Jeff McNeil even had a big night last night, which is something the Mets have been waiting on all year. So, yes, I think that the Mets are legit contenders, because the National League is very weak right now, and they're right in the thick of the wild card race. I don't see why they couldn't snatch a postseason spot this year in the NL, with this race being the way that it is.
Yeah, no, they are right there, and that's what has Mets fans excited, especially where they were at the end of May. And you mentioned a guy here. One of the keys to the Mets turnaround has been the return of Francisco Alvarez. You look at the numbers when he's in the lineup. How has Alvarez grown in your eyes in his second full season here in the big leagues, and what do you think the ceiling is for the Mets catcher?
With Alvarez, he's very clearly wise beyond his years, super dedicated. He taught himself how to speak English from last year, trying to learn it, and then in the offseason he came back and he's really just been super impressive on and off the field. The way he leads, the way he commands a pitching staff, and you saw it with the ERA jumping from when he tore his thumb and had to get surgery in the end of April to when he came back. It's just been a stark difference in how the Mets pitching staff has performed, and then he's been an impact with his bat. Obviously, he's going to be a middle-of-the-order bat for the Mets for many years to come, and his ceiling, I think, is superstar. He's quickly become a rising star, a budding star, whatever you want to call him, but he's arrived. He's really already one of the best offensive catchers in the game, where you don't get a lot of offense from that position because you get beat up so much behind the plate. So I think Alvarez will be a perennial all-star and maybe even a Platinum Glove winner as Jose Trevino of the Yankees was a couple years ago. So I think that Alvarez is a special player and very exciting for the Mets.
All right, so excited about Alvarez, the numbers with him in the lineup, as Pat talked about, not just production at the plate, but also in terms of how he's handled that pitching staff, has been very, very impressive. Right now, good vibes for the Mets in the month of June. Yankees seem like they're turning things around. We'll see if the Mets can keep it going in July. All right, we got a bonus topic here, Pat, and I thought you'd be the perfect person for this because you cover both New York baseball teams. Now, you might have noticed this week there's a bit of a conversation about which team here in New York is the best TV broadcast booth crew in baseball. Now, this all came about, folks, because Michael Kay, well, he was a bit salty and in his feelings because SNY ran an ad on his ESPN radio show, which is also simulcast on the Yes Network. And in the ad, it implored potential viewers to watch the Subway Series and see and listen to the, quote, best booth in Major League Baseball. Now, Kay, for full transparency, he's a Yankees play-by-play guy on the Yes Network. He strongly disagreed, and he had a little rant about it. So I'm going to keep it real New York here for you. Who has the best baseball TV broadcast booth crew here in the city? Is it the Mets or is it the Yankees? What do you say?
Well, Dexter, I will say both booths are great in their own right. Both have great people in each booth.
Absolutely.
And really, it's a preference. I mean, if you're a Yankees fan, you're going to want to listen to Yes Network and Michael Kay. If you're a Mets fan, you'll want to listen to Gary, Keith, and Ron, who are great in the SNY booth. So I don't blame Michael Kay for being upset about the ad being run on his station and them encouraging him, viewers and listeners, to go over to his competitor. But at the same time, both are very talented and worthy in their own right. So let's leave it at that.
Hey, look at that, guys. Pat kept it right down the middle. He's like, I'm not picking a side here. I'm not trying to get in trouble. He also understands where he is, too. He's gonna not do that. So I get it, man. I thought it was fun. I think they're both great booths. I'm in agreement with you. I think it's good talk, good banter for the New York baseball fans, and hopefully a good rest of this New York baseball season. We're hoping for that. Pat, appreciate you coming up to the New York Sports Rapid Rundown. We really appreciate having you here.
Thanks for having me. It was a great time, and I appreciate you having me in.
Yeah, man. Got to come back. I know you'll be back for sure. Please check out the work of Pat Ragazzo with Sports Illustrated. Does a fantastic job covering both the Mets and the Yankees. If you're looking for coverage on that, this man will have you covered. Pat, again, appreciate it. We will be back next week for another edition of the New York Sports Rapid Rundown.